Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Sunday afternoon Meet the Atheists segment. Gives me very great pleasure to introduce to you guys today somebody that I ran into on TikTok. Welcome, Lize. How are you doing?
Hi, Dean. Thank you very much. I'm good, thanks, and you?
It's amazing. I'm always so happy to meet new atheists and introduce them to our audience. So I'm doing great. I'm so happy that it's turning into a bit of summer, and I'm so sick and tired. I'm over the rain. I can't wait for the nice hot weather.
Oh, I love winter. I love winter.
Exactly. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Lisa. Did your background? Did you grow up in a religion? Were you just like me? I'm, like hashtag ex-Christian. It's like so boring.
Yeah, I grew up my father was in the church dominee. My mom also, you actually met my mom at varsity studying because she went to study. She was doing missionary work and then she came back to study further. So they both were very much in theology. They both studied it as well. But at the same time, they always worked at children's homes. So my dad was very seldom that he was actually preaching in church. But because of that, they were so busy, we grew up without them. We are 5 kids, so we literally grew up without them. If I look back and think about the religious homes other people have, we didn't do Bible study at home. When we prayed before we ate, that was about it. That and going to church. That was as much as we did religious-wise in the house.
Right.
So I do come from a religious background, but I don't think it was as strict as many other homes, especially for a dominee.
Yeah. And what flavor did you say it was in here?
Yeah, in Kid Church.
Okay, that's Dutch Reformed, yeah.
It was, Dutch Reformed. Yeah, back then it was the 3 churches, and we were on the biggest one. So
yeah.
Later years, my parents left the country, so they explored in other churches.
Yeah. I remember my mom when I was very young. They had this. They went to this apostolic church for a couple of Sundays, and I was blown away. These people were just. They were something else. Hey, they were singing and fucking going crazy, and it was a big show. And
Yes.
I was still, they were all so froom and prim and proper in the Dutch Reformed Church, and everybody wore their like best clothes, and all the tannies sat there with big hats. And
I went after school. Once I got married, and that we went into the evangelic churches and all of that. So, I never felt comfortable there. But then my ex-husband, his family was there. We went into those churches, and it was also crazy. And then I went back to the Inca church for a while, got divorced. Then I remarried to a Catholic. So I went through Catholic to Catholic church. Not much. He was not big on going to church, though. At least he loved the rituals, but he wasn't very attached to Catholicism itself.
Right.
So I've been through a variety. And I think that is what helped me. Part of my deconstruction process is going through all of these different churches, not being stuck to one.
So, what was it? What was the straw that broke the camel's back? Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? What was it like for you? Was there any, key factors or any experiences that led you to this point where you started questioning? Because I for the largest part of my life when I was religious, I just remember I was brainwashed. I didn't look to the sides or anything.
So I know for many people it's quite a process. For me, it was my husband passed away 4 years ago, and that's when I also thought, I was an accountant. I absolutely hated it. I wanted to change my life. I want to do something different. I've always been interested in psychology. So I went to do a course in life coaching. And at the end of the course, the guy that did the course just before I left, I was already walking out of the door, and he said, imagine Christians think they're the only right belief, or, only right religion. And just those words clicked. And that was the end of it, just in that moment. So it was really just a moment thing. But if I do look back, then it was probably a process of, I changed how I view kids. I changed how I view different religions and things over a period of time because of different experiences. We lived in Nigeria for 2 years. We moved to Windhoek for a while. I've traveled a bit. So just all of those experiences open your eyes to different things. So I think it was dropping things along the way. So when that final aha moment came, it was pretty easy.
It's funny that you mentioned it like that, because it's very seldom that you will encounter an atheist that will tell you, I heard X argument or I saw Y thing and it was like that, religion is gone. Like it's always this process of if you can picture someone taking a very long journey and they're carrying very, very heavy luggage, and they keep on unpacking, and it's too heavy to carry, so they keep on unpacking and packing, and at the end of the road they find that the suitcase they've been carrying all the time is empty. And it's a very, very common experience that you described there. And was there any specific person or maybe an organization that was influential that you drew on for skepticism, or was it completely an inside job?
It was really just that instant, but also I think because I did that course, and it was a year, it was shortly after my husband passed. So I took a year and just really did self-development, just working on, he was also very ill for 2 years, so we actually were quite traumatized just from that, and I was burned out and everything. So I really took a year of recouping, finding myself, finding my own voice, reevaluating my life, and all of that. So I think just that process sort of coincided with leaving religion at the same time. So, and then I delved into the New Age spirituality quite a bit as well. So there were many things there, though, I looked, but I didn't resonate, and I couldn't figure out why it's not resonating, but this is what I've been taught now. And eventually, when I looked at everything, I was like, okay, now I can just let it all go. It's actually, there's no truth. There's no absolute truth in anything.
Yeah. It's amazing how when you when you find that strength within yourself to stand within your own power, you realize how much of a crutch religion is. It's a crutch that people use throughout their lives. And the longer you use the crutch, the weaker the limb that the crutch support gets.
Yeah. That's for me, and it's one of my big missions, is to find the power within yourself again, instead of this thing we've been taught that God is the power. You need to look outside of yourself the whole time. So for me, the big thing is just to get back within you, find your own power, because we're made powerless. Religion makes you powerless.
Correct. It's all about, they call it that external locus of control. When you take that external locus of control and you internalize it, that's when you actually start to stand in your own power and to be your own truth voice.
To be yourself. To be yourself, to actually also investigate. And that's what I always say to people: is, why are you believing something? Is this your own belief, or is this someone else's belief that you just accepted? And religion is someone else's belief that you accepted. And with that comes all of your other beliefs. So you need to go break all of that down and start finding your own thing.
Exactly.
And that is powerful. I think that is very powerful to do.
It's a very, very transformative experience when you take control of your life. It's very transformative. Yes. I see you very active on TikTok, and you're asking those difficult questions. Are you involved in any kind of activism at all, or is it mainly on social media?
No, it's the social media for me. It's because I'm a life coach and I was looking at, I couldn't find a niche and decide exactly who I want to work with. And then I realized this religious trauma is actually so big and there is a big market for it. There aren't many people doing it. And it is something I'm passionate about as well, because of what I've also experienced in my own life with religion. And I thought, let me just go for that. And somehow that just really took off. And then I realized, but there is really a big need for this. So this is something I'll focus on then.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because when you mention trauma to people, they usually have this image in their minds of somebody that's been in a serious car accident, or something extreme. But religion has got a very, very insidious traumatic effect on people. It teaches you very harmful psychological ideas. It teaches you that you are not worthy, that you're not worthy of love, that you're not worthy of belonging. And these things take a very long time to actually deprogram yourself out of. So it's very important work to do.
Yeah, I look at a lot of people who say they don't have trauma, and I can see the triggers in them. I mean, sitting from the outside and knowing what triggers look like, I see how people are getting triggered, and then I don't want to jump in and tell them, listen, you are getting this triggered because you still have trauma around it. And people will think, no, we're just angry and defending, but it's trauma that causes it. And religion is actually like in a church, the whole of religion, Christianity especially, is like what's the word? Like being in a relationship with a covert narcissist, which is just based on complete emotional abuse and breaking you down the whole time.
Yeah, it's abuse. It's like being in an abusive relationship. You keep on going back for more, and you keep on repeating the same thing over and over again, hoping that it's going to be different the next time. And what happens in that, I mean, that's the definition of insanity. It truly is the definition of insanity, is like repeating, how can you say, obsessively, compulsively repeating the same thing over and over again, hoping to achieve a different outcome. But every single time it's the same thing. It's a very strange reward system that's built into religion, in my opinion.
It is, but that is, I mean, to be in an emotionally abusive relationship is one of the most difficult ones to walk out, because you don't realize you're in it. Abuse keeps you hooked. You don't know that you are in this abusive relationship. It's only once you're out you can look back, and then you can see it.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. So I touched a little bit on the negative aspects of religion. What are some of the I mean, without getting too personal, but what were some of the negative impacts that you experienced that religion has on your life? And I mean, religion has got it in for 50% of the human race. Like if you are a woman, religion is definitely not your friend.
Not at all. Look, there is sexual abuse that I can't really speak about yet, because it's influencing too many people, but it is a story I'd like to get out one day when I know it is a safe place. It is a safe time to do it for everyone. But I think in general, the whole patriarchy was created also on the base of religion. So it's always having to stand up for yourself. And I am quite opinionated. So I'm pretty good at it. I do speak my mind, and men don't always like it. And I'm tall. So I do people find me very intimidating in real life. Sometimes I typically use it. But I think for that, it's as a woman, you really have to fight to just be heard or seen. And then I'm used to getting emails from work colleagues when I still worked about, oh, here's your broom. Where are you parking your broom today? Kind of thing. So it's the minute a woman stands up, there is this thing from the men, a woman can't act like that. And that comes from patriarchy in the Bible. The women need to submit to things like that.
I'm laughing because I'm the type of person that will really exploit that kind of email. I will respond and I will give them the details of the model of broom that I'm flying, and
Yeah, thankfully, I'm fairly secure myself. So when those kind of things come, I actually said to someone today, especially I got some nasty comments, but I'm sitting there, I'm giggling about it because I've got such snarky comebacks, but I don't want to be that snarky, That's not really going to help people. But I've got them, and sometimes I make the video and then I don't post it. I rethink myself. But you to actually be able to stand up in this world, and that's why I want people to find their own power, is that you need to be secure in yourself, because I'm sorry to say, but Christians are going to bite your head off. Just in everyday life, even if you are not going to be able to stand up for yourself.
Yeah. But I mean, it's completely understandable, because religion becomes a part of a person's identity. They identify as Christians, they identify as Muslims, as Hindus. So when you unknowingly attack the religion, it feels to that person like you are attacking them. So they take it extremely personally, and it's understandable. It's only in retrospect that that you realize, fuck, I need to actually have some compassion for this idiot on the internet.
Yeah, well, sometimes, yeah. It's that fine line, because I understand that they are, I understand it's part of their identity. I understand that it's when you say something about Christianity, you're speaking to the person. They really take it very personally. But part of growing is to start understanding that you and your beliefs are two different things. So if you want to be a grown-up, then you need to address it. And sometimes you're just going to have to hear it straight up. If you can't figure it out for yourself, then there's people like me who just straight up tell you. So,
Amen.
there's a place for
Preach, my sister. Preach now. I love that. I love that. I really do. So let's do a little bit of introspection. So now that you are at the end of this journey, if you could take a time machine and go back in time and speak to your younger self, where am I? Sorry, my camera is automatically moving me around here. If you could go back in time and speak to a younger version of yourself, what kind of advice would you give to your younger self? If, for example, for me, I would tell my younger self, don't always trust the authorities. People in authority can be wrong and they can lie to you as well. So if you had to reflect on your journey, what's some sage advice that you would give young Lize?
I wasn't a rebellious child or anything. I just did what I was told. And especially for my siblings, who my dad was also a complete narcissist. So I was the golden child, and I was like completely controlled, where they weren't, but they could rebel and they could stand up and do whatever they want. So they all left religion a long time before me. And for me, I think for my younger self, I would definitely say, just stand up and say no, and question authority. Just stop agreeing with what adults are saying, or stand up against an adult and question your beliefs. Just because someone says this is the law doesn't mean you have to accept it.
Exactly. It's funny how humans work, because I consider myself as quite an assertive and upfront person. But I now that I'm older, I realize there's certain areas of my life where I'm not assertive at all. There's certain areas where people can bulldoze right over me, and it's very strange how the human psyche works. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, I didn't have a voice as a child. It was always there, but I was stopped. I wasn't allowed to get it out. So there's nothing stopping me now, and I realized it's just maybe time to actually have my voice. I did it in work situations much more. Now it's more public with social media, but Yeah, it's. I guess if you were able to speak up as a child, it doesn't matter so much when you're older. But I wasn't able to, so now I'm speaking up, and at least now it doesn't affect me so badly when there's negatives coming back, because I am more secure myself than I was as a child.
Yeah. But I also think it's the legacy of the we are a product of the times that we grew up in, and I grew up in a time where adults were not to be questioned. Adults were not to be spoken back to. You had to revere and respect your elders, and if you didn't, there were consequences. So I think it was programmed into me from a very, very young age that I need to have a certain level of respect for authority. And it's only later in adulthood that I realized I can question authority. It's okay for me to question authority, to not be okay with authority, to not accept things blindly. And it's also, I think that, especially growing up in an Afrikaans household, that was a very, very strict thing that was imprinted on me as a very young child. Kinders moet gehoor word en nie gesien word nie. So children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah. Which is interesting for me, because I grew up in that era as well. I finished school before apartheid ended. And I didn't, with an Afrikaans dad who was a Germany, I didn't grow up in a house like that at all.
Yeah.
I was controlled in terms of the choices I have for my life or anything. I did not have any choice. But my dad believed in psychology. He didn't believe in hiding, giving a kid a hiding. The school weren't allowed to give us hidings, and that time it was still legal. So in terms of those things, I grew up in a very liberal home. I also grew up in a very non-racist home, which was also very strange for that time. So for those things, I grew up very liberal, but I think collectively you still get the message of don't question and things like that. So you do still end up not questioning.
Yeah, it's true. So what advice would you give to other individuals who are at the moment questioning their faith or considering deconversion, asking the difficult questions? Based on your experience, what are the key considerations or the steps that will make this a very painless and easy process to go through, which it never is. For me, it was like losing religion was a traumatic thing. I was like so traumatized by it. I was like, no, why did you lie to me?
Yeah, it's your life. I think it's a process, and just accept where you are in the process first.
Yeah.
It's you don't need to do it overnight. You don't need to make any big decisions overnight. Accept where you are today and take it day by day. And question what you question. And if you feel like something is not an answer there right now, and you're not ready to accept that next answer, then leave it. Put it on the shelf for a bit until you're ready to come back. I think we sometimes try and push the process too quickly because you're looking at the end goal. So just take it day by day and find support as well. I think that's quite important, is to find a supportive community.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the funny thing is, I remember a while ago we had an interview with Dr. Joshua Bowen from Digital Hammurabi, and he said something that stays with me. He says, you have to be prepared to cry yourself to sleep for a few nights.
Yes.
Because it's not an easy journey. I don't remember the exact words, but he put it deadpan. He was just deadpan. He said, you've got to be prepared to cry yourself to sleep a couple of nights in the week. Oh, it was so funny. And what was the fallout zone for you? What was the fallout zone like for you, Lize? How did your family react? How, your social circles? Were you the one day?
That was also easy for me.
Yeah.
Because, my father passed away 11 years ago already, so I only formally left 4 years ago. And my mom doesn't know, or probably suspects, but I haven't downright told her. But other than that, I've got 4 sisters. They all left long before me. My kids I've got 2 older kids whom I raised in Christianity and trying to get them to church. They rejected it from day one. They tried to keep me happy for a while. So they're very thankful that I'm not believing anymore, because our relationship changed completely. Because now we're all on the same page. And my younger one that I had with my second husband is just, we've never raised in a religion.
Right.
And other than that, I'm not a very social person. So, and I don't really care much if people like me or not. So if I tell someone and they don't like it, then I move on. But for close family, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, it's very strange. As you go through life, I'm at this stage where religion is a complete non-issue for me. I don't even think about it. I don't talk about it. But if you approach me with religion, that's when it's going to become a very big problem, indeed. But there's so many different ways of how people deal with. Some people become very militant, and other people become completely apathetic. And some people land somewhere in between. So it's very interesting that that you had such a small fallout zone, basically, because some people. Let me just. This AI is moving me all over the show here today. So I'm saying it's some people describe horror stories, especially the more fundamentalist and the extreme religions. If you go north into Africa, some of the Islamic countries, we hear horror stories from people who get kicked out of their homes, left to their own devices, and even some in. We've heard stories from people in Nigeria where old people, people who start, they go into dementia at a very advanced age in life, and then all of a sudden they're labeled as witches, and all of these things have got a religious motivation. So it's actually very scary. What the fallout zone is. It has very wide consent rings.
Yeah, because I've actually made a video about that, and I asked people what the experience is like. And so many people commented that they lost family. One woman said her daughter refuses to speak to her ever again. Other people are just saying they're in hiding. They cannot let anyone know, because they will lose everything.
Yeah. That's hectic. And what are some of the stereotypes now? Yeah, exactly. So what are some of the stereotypes that you've run into? I've heard that all atheists are rich, and we have these rituals on a Sunday. We have these rituals on a Sunday where we gather in the forest and we roast babies and pray to Satan and all that.
I haven't really. I don't know. Like I said, people find me intimidating. So in real life, people don't approach me and they don't ask me stuff like that. So, but if I look on TikTok itself, it's like, oh, you're just hateful, and you need to pray more. Look at the basic stuff. It's, the other one is you are an atheist because you want a sinful lifestyle. That's why.
Yeah. You just love your sin.
Then I realized it's a lot of projection, because it often comes from people. I can see that as soon as I learn a little bit about someone, and then you can see where they start projecting. Like specifically the lifestyle one was told to me by someone that was a drug addict before he became really reborn and went into Christianity so much. And then I can see, but you're projecting the fact that you weren't able to have a decent lifestyle without Christianity. So I do take it with a grain of salt,
Yeah. No, it's very strange. Whenever and the funny thing is, Christians are fascinated with atheism. They look at it, like a crow will look at a shining object in the grass. They gravitate towards it because it inherently exposes an insecurity within them that they dare not even look at or examine, So I find that very fascinating. So, in terms of your worldview and your moral outlook, did it remain more or less the same for you? We have people who describe becoming more accepting, more open-minded, more liberal-leaning when they left that rigid structure of religion, or was it, has it been more or less the same for you? What is that like?
Yeah, because I grew up in a fairly, I wouldn't say liberal, but for the time, maybe we were liberal,
Open-minded,
fairly
yeah.
open-minded type of home in terms of most moral things. There wasn't that big shift for me, but I did realize, especially after leaving religion, that there were some things that are very deep-rooted in terms of racism and homophobia and those things that you didn't really realize, but by thinking in a certain way is actually racist. Or, some jokes and things like that I started becoming way more aware of and say, oh, but I do actually have a bit of that, and I do need to go still look at that. So it did certainly make me more attentive of these big issues and how I am viewing it and what is there in me that I actually thought wasn't there but is there.
Yeah. And then, now that you don't believe that God created the world 6,000 years ago, and Mudman and Rib Woman lived in the garden with the talking snake, and etc. I mean, like, have you found a newfound interest in science? Has science and understanding the natural world for what it is, has that ever been? You grew up in a bit of a liberal environment, so I think naturally your parents would have encouraged that. But I'm always fascinated by these literalists who insist on taking things literally. What part does science play at all in your understanding of the world, if we can go there?
Yeah, even as a Christian, I was still comfortable with the Big Bang Theory, for example, of evolution and stuff. I kind of justified it. Okay, that's the way God did it, kind of thing. So I wasn't, it wasn't for me a big, could never be that way. Actually, I learned it didn't play any role in me leaving at all. I learned, I'm probably the atheist who knows the least about the Bible. I know atheists leave because they read the Bible. I don't. I didn't read it. I'm still not reading it. I know very little about it. I know
not interested. I love that.
So I just know the cliches. So, but especially through TikTok and sitting in live with other people, I'm now learning stuff. So I find it fascinating, all the things that I am learning now. But that's not what changed my worldview. It sort of like just broadens everything for me right now. Is to learn more about the things. I'm gobsmacked half the time. I'm like, oh, was that part of what I was supposed to believe? I didn't know
that. This is very interesting to have that realization after leaving.
Yes. My mom believes the Bible literally. She does. And I don't know, my dad was very good at like Hebrew, Latin, everything. And he actually wrote one of the psalm books, one of the churches for the singing. He helped writing on that. And with that, he was also, he studied Afrikaans literature when he died. So his languages and all of that and his interpretations was excellent. He was really good at that. I think it was maybe he must have had questions. At some point, he did lose his faith as well in adult life. We went through a lot of stuff. And then he came back again. My mom has never, ever left. She's still in the Dutch Reformed Church. She still goes every single Sunday. She doesn't miss a day. So she always believed what So, but I mean, but that said, she's also probably the only Christian that I could say is if Christians could be like her, then I wouldn't have a problem. But that is from living in the States for a very long time. She said she learned to accept people more and to be more open-minded as well.
Interesting. Any positive aspects, or areas of personal growth that you have discovered now that you've left your religion? A lot of, like I said earlier, a lot of people report being more open-minded, being more tolerant, and how has your life changed or improved since deciding to leave religion and call yourself an atheist?
I think I've opened up to explore a lot more things that I've always wondered about but never really went into. So now that religion is not there, I'm not worried about what is right and wrong. Can I look at this or not? So I'm a lot more, I'm exploring just a wider range of things. And I get very interested in all kinds of things. I love a good conspiracy theory as well. So I really go watch and follow people from the Anunnaki all the way through to the other side. Listen to what they're saying and listen to all the theories. I love the esoteric side.
Yeah.
I find it interesting and fascinating. I also still sometimes go to, went to Hare Krishna church a while ago. I find religion in itself very fascinating, and the people's what they're believing and how they get there. So, but leaving Christianity opens that up completely, so I can go into all of this without getting attached to anything.
Exactly, it's like life minus the guilt trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Something like that.
And now, how do you engage with religious people now that you call yourself an atheist? Do you, are you one of those militant atheists that puts your foot down and say up to here and no further, or are you more of the philosophically inclined type of atheist, like questioning their beliefs? Like, how do you engage with religious people now?
I'm more philosophical. Look, on TikTok, I'm very opinionated, but that's what I have for there, because I want to have the people that are going through the trauma. But in general life, I'm a bit more philosophical. I also don't believe in kicking, ripping the carpet underneath people. It's like, if that's what they believe, that's what they believe, and it's fine. I can, I'm not going to tell them it's wrong. I will maybe ask a question around why you believe that or something. But in general, I leave people. For me, it's not a fruitful conversation to argue who's right. It never ends.
Exactly, because that's the thing that I learned only a while into my deconversion. Somebody said, it was like an aha moment where somebody said, you didn't reason yourself into religion. You have to reason yourself out of it, but you didn't reason yourself into it. So you have to be very, you have to realize it's an inside job leaving it. It's like, there's no magic words that you can say to somebody that'll make them discard their religion. It's something that they have to do out of their own accord. And, it's a total inside job. So, I completely lost my train of thought.
I think, and people get, some of the comments I do get on my videos is like, you need to take your stuff off because people are you're leading people away from God. And then I'm like, it's if you think someone's video is going to take people away from God, if you leave because of my video, you've left a long time ago. It's sort of the cherry on the cake. And I think people, and that just shows you how insecure people are actually in their beliefs.
Yeah.
There's deep down, you do know this is not true. It cannot be true. And you're just hanging on to something. And that's why you don't question, because then you're going to have to face something that's inside of you that says, is this really true? And people don't want to face that.
Exactly. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to have discovered you on TikTok. Let's plug your account. Where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you on TikTok? What's your account called? And also, I'll put the link to your TikTok in the description of this live stream on YouTube. And for anybody that wants to find Atheist Community, search on Facebook for Atheist Republic, and you are very welcome to come and join us for a swim. The water is warm, we're friendly, it's nice out here by the pool.
Yeah, so I'm just building stronger lives. That's my
stronger lives.
like that.
Yeah. Amazing. Lize, I want to thank you so much on behalf of all our members for being so very generous with your time on a Sunday afternoon, for coming to meet with us and telling us about your journey. We love to hear people's stories, because we can all relate to the journey, because we've all been there. On behalf of our members and everybody who's watching this later on, I would just like to say thank you very much again. And yeah, we'll see you out there on the interwebs.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it. It's quite an honor.